So your gender of being a woman, does it add, well, not does it, what kind of complexities does it add to the fact that you're also queer?
Oh my God. We could do another episode on this probably. The most basic, I will break it down to you maybe a little differently. I think the most basic issue that I have with this society is that I cannot be a single person. Like,
Mm.
Okay.
and then you add single woman. Like, it's
Mm.
the way the world looks at me in that context is, oh, she must have been difficult. That's why she didn't get married. Something must be wrong with her. That's why a man is not marrying her. She's not living with her parents and something is wrong. Like, there's always something wrong with me. And then you add the layer of queer. Now, already I'm kind of used to this bunch of stuff, which is very scary. Like, it could just escalate very badly, very fast. And I have like fucking so many tattoos. Sorry. I have so many tattoos, and I look a certain way. So, and then you add queer, it just makes you like, for me, there are, I'm a Bangalore person. I've lived here all my life. I'm very comfortable with the city, and its language and all of that, right? Like, I have all those privileges, but even with all of that, sometimes I'm just like so on the edge because I don't know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
And I've also been that kind of person. Like, in Bangalore, it's a kind of an open, um, accepting culture when you kind of stay within the lines, unsaid lines. So I have been lucky where I've been to clubs and I have kissed my partner or been slightly intimate, maybe not all out make out, but just
Yeah.
holding hands, hugging, or any of that, which is obviously a intimate, romantic, intimate gesture. And I have not been stopped. I have not been thrown out. I have not, management has not approached me and nothing like that. But on the other side, on the street, I don't know what's going to happen. Like,
Mm.
on, I have no idea. And I
Yeah.
have been followed on my bike so many times just for being a woman. Like, I don't know what will happen if these people who are following me or like, uh, watching me, if they figure out that I'm
Mm.
queer also.
Queer as
I
well.
have no
Yeah.
idea like how that would pan out. I have really no idea. And I think you and me were also talking about this the other day, like with the whole technology and them being able to track me just from a photograph, it's just even more scary. You're like, I don't even know how to engage with social media when you're constantly thinking what's going to happen with this picture. Is firstly, is it going to be taken down by Instagram?
Yeah.
Secondly, like, who is going to abuse me now? And it's just constantly being on the toes. So it's
Mm.
I don't know, I mean, we all dreamt of moving to Canada at some point. That much I'll tell you. Like, all the queer people, like especially when I was in my 20s, we all definitely uh, dreamed of moving somewhere where
Mm.
nothing would happen to us,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
a very scary thought. I think, yeah, like you said, being a woman itself is hard enough no matter where you are in the world, and especially when you're in a place where you are comfortable and you know the language and you've grown up there. And then when that place becomes a little scary, like,
yeah.
what do you do? Where do you go?
Yeah, and I remember when actually while you were talking, I remember in my 20s we did this protest. I used to go to a lot of protests. Those days we had a
Hmm.
lot of protests actually. Every 2 3 weeks there was a protest for something. And we finished the protest and we were just walking back to Church Street as usual. Just like, that's where we kind of met and disbanded. And I walked ahead with a bunch of friends, and I remember this lesbian couple that I knew, and they started screaming. And by the time we turned around, like, there were these two guys who ran away, but they got beaten up because they were holding hands. It was like, it just happened so fast, like they just got slapped or hit on the neck or something like that, and they ran away. You know, it happened so quick, and it was just like, oh my God, is this going to happen to me because I'm queer now? Like,
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
not dating men, and what's going to happen? Like, what's my future going to be like? That, yeah, that
Yeah.
was a constant thought before. Now, I guess, I mean, I guess it also takes that certain maturity and living through life to at least figure out how to be safe. So I think
Mm.
I've kind of figured out how to be safe.
I think to the best of your capacity.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you can do, right? Yeah.
True.
So,
Absolutely.
let's talk a little bit about your relationship. You said you are seeing somebody.
Yeah. So I'm living with my partner, Kirtana. Um, yeah. So she and me have been seeing each other for 5 years. Sorry,
Oh.
5 years? No, 3 years. What am I saying? In my head, it's 5 years.
In
No,
That's cute though.
Kirtana and me have been seeing each other for 3 years.
Hmm.
But we spent, I think, the first 2 years actually really talking about it and figuring out if we want to move in or not, or like, we talked about it a lot. And I think that's the difference now. Like when I was in my 20s, I would have probably been like, let's move in tomorrow. Like, let's
Now
you
you're
all.
like, let's
You all.
think about it.
Yeah, now I'm like, let's figure this out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
So yeah,
walk
so she
us
and me.
through. So walk us through what everyday things are like for you and Kirtana, starting from renting a place together, celebrating festivals, being outside, stuff that
Yeah.
hetero couples really own the space for. I would
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I would
yeah,
I would go as
definitely.
far as say we take it for granted. So
Definitely. So, I think one thing that really irks me on a really bad day, I would be very mad about it and like, but today is a good day. So I recognize a lot, and I feel sometimes really horrible to see how much straight couples have that social currency. And straight couples might be sitting here looking at me thinking, oh, it's so boring. I don't want this currency or whatever. But you don't realize that it's not about just hanging out with your parents or whatever. It's about getting that support when things are not okay. You're going to have your parents or your sibling or even your neighbor who will come and be like, what's wrong? And let me help you. Whereas here on this side, firstly, us living together, we are cousins. We are not, uh, we are not even like friends because it's a family sort of building. So we had to say something. So we are cousins. And a lot of times people have said we look alike. So we're just going with it. We're just like,
yeah,
okay, whatever. Same
it
family.
works. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, I recently came out to my parents. They are not very pleased with it. At that point, I used to live with my brother. So I was very clear that, I didn't want to lie to them. As much as I knew that they wouldn't be okay with it, I didn't want to lie and start a life with people. I wanted to do it as positively as possible. So I told them, and they were not happy. And they basically said, I don't want to hear anything about this relationship you're in. I said, okay. And on her side, I mean, they know about me, and, but they're also kind of in that place. They're not, nobody is like hateful here. They just don't want to participate in this life that
Mm.
we are having. Um, so what ends up happening is our festivals, I mean, to answer your question, our festivals are separate. Like she goes to her place, I go to my place. And then we, you know, come back in the evening and see each other or whatever. But we are not really celebrating anything together, or we're not, you know, we're not able to take that togetherness that everyone else is having. Like you open Instagram and there's like hundreds of people hanging out with their family and doing all this cool things, cooking together or whatever. What is that actually? At the end of the day, it's you feeling nice about your community and spending time with people you care about. Like
Yeah,
forget about like festival or whatever.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's people coming together and kind of spending time with each other, which we are probably never going to get. And which is why I'm a big believer of chosen families. And honestly, I didn't know I was doing this, and I was doing this since I was very young, and only after I was like fully figured out I'm queer and someone told me this word chosen families, and I was like, whoa, that's what I've been doing. Like I have been always extroverted and always going and meeting friends and always having these conversations about friends are more important. And as a
Yeah.
kid, you're just like my best friend and whatever. So I think for me, that really has been my only support through very difficult things, also, right? Like, chosen
Mm.
family is what kind of gets me through it. So I have a friend who does a Onam lunch. She makes everything from like scratch, you know.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
we all like, I and she used to live in Delhi and I used to live with her. So we've all like sat up and made everything, like, it was so nice, like just a bunch of friends who are not related by blood hanging
Mm.
out and
Mm.
spending time. So that is something like, I like to do. So if there are friends who are inviting me home, I would like jump on that. Like, I would ignore my family and go there,
Mm.
because it feels a lot more like I can
Acceptance.
take Kirtana also there, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we can all hang out, and so that has been a real um blessing, revelation, community, all of those things that we're all looking for. It's been
Mm.
very nice to have those friends who are not friends anymore. They are the family, right?
Family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
When you came out to your parents and told them about Kirtana, were you already expecting them to not be super
Yeah.
enthusiastic? Yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that is something we talk about so much in the community, that we always talk about coming out to parents and what's it's like. There's actually a list. There's a video. I can share it with you if you want to share it with your listeners. There's actually a video done by Sonal which talks about the do's and don'ts of coming out to your family.
Mm.
It's a very
Okay.
serious, well thought out do's and don'ts, because we have dealt with so many people who have probably done it wrong, or who have probably been too emotional and they're not able to handle that conversation. Um, some people who are getting married, or getting forced to get married and struggling.
Mm.
So we know this subject so well, but
Yeah.
when it comes to your own situation, maybe it's difficult to do it. But I
Mm.
knew that you wouldn't be okay. I knew that, and I'm still accepting that they are not okay. It's okay. Like, it's something very new to them, and I cannot expect them to just
Yeah.
change overnight. And I think I also took almost a decade to be so confident about my queerness.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's fair for me to let them also take their time into it. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if they'll ever come around or whatever. So I'm not going to be here and you know think that
Waiting.
everything will be
Mm.
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I'm okay. Like, I knew that they would not be so well receiving, but I was also prepared to know that I wouldn't be so well receiving as well. So I did go through for some time all the anger, and I was like, how can you not like, not directly
Mm.
talking to him, to my parents, but I in my head I was like, what is wrong? Like, why can't you just accept this?
Yeah.
It's
So it was
but
kind of a journey for you as well, like to actually get
yeah,
out there and tell them. And would it have made, it doesn't make a difference though, right? To you, but in terms of Kirtana, right? It's not like you were going to not be with her,
yeah,
or
yeah,
right,
yeah,
right. Which is,
yeah,
I think, a
absolutely. It was
big
not a
distinction with hetero couples. If you look
yeah,
at it, they would actually, choose to reject their partner if their parents says no, we don't accept it, which happens so often.
yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. I think that was never the option anyway. And I think
yeah.
I'm fair again. Like, I have had some bit of luck in especially this queer side of my life. I guess my parents and me have not always had a great relationship, but they've
Mm.
also not been those mean get married tomorrow sort of people either. So they have been very
Okay.
careful with that subject as well, saying you should get, like, in my 20s or whatever. Then my dad would be like, you should get married. Why don't you think about it? It was it was not even a conversation. It was just like thrown.
Talking at you.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was just,
Mm.
but they were never forceful. So I think that's a good thing. Like, I know people whose parents have just locked them up, or like started making them meet boys almost immediately.
Mm.
Um, so that way, I think my dad also. I think he said something very interesting. He said, "You're old enough now for me not to interfere
Mm.
in your life, but that doesn't mean I need to know anything about it."
Wow.
uh, or something like that. So I
Mm.
mean, it was really weird because he got it, but he didn't get it. It was like,
Right. I
Mm.
think he's trying to get it at the same time. He also
yeah,
doesn't know
because
how to
he
put it
actually
across.
said you're grown up now and you've been doing this for so long, so
Hmm.
it's not gonna really, you know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. It's like a weird
Yeah.
acceptance of the fact that you're queer, but at the same time,
Yeah, not.
not like not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Not.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, I just have a question, and I know I'm tracking back a little bit,
yeah.
but
No problem.
you mentioned, so okay, let me put a preamble for this. Social media is great. We've had the conversation in terms
Yeah,
of exposure. There is also no, making no bones of the fact that it is also a place where, much like it empowers you for who you are, it also empowers a lot of hate. It also
mm,
empowers all the negativity out there because everyone gets a platform equally, right?
yeah,
However, again, then coming back to you, aside from what you mentioned earlier, just being a woman in itself is its own struggle.
yeah.
Now, add to that your filter of being queer as well. Has that affected your usage of social media and your consumption on, the social media platforms? What's that like?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, we've all been having this conversation, especially after that movie, Social Dilemma, right? And I
Mm,
think, like, for me, it started even before that. Like, just we started this group, ASQ, and properly like 5 years ago, and we've been very active. And we used Facebook because it was so convenient because everyone was on it. For
yeah.
example, if I was adding Nishka and if Nishka was not on my friends list, I could still
Mm,
like message her and be like, join this group or whatever.
mm,
It was easy to find people, easy to add them, easy to converse and whatever. But over and over, we are seeing how much Facebook, even if the group is private and it's not accessible by other people,
mm,
inside the group also our relationship is with Facebook, right? So the way
mm,
they engage, like the way they bring up posts and the way they don't bring up posts, you can see uh, that the engagement is done differently. That was one. And
mm.
like even on Instagram now, Instagram has become like this hub for cross dressing people. A lot of expression is going on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
So amazing. And again, like the bravery is mind blowing. But when I see that, and there's that couple that got a little bit famous, Sufi and Anjali, from
Mm-hmm.
US. So when I started looking at them, I said, I can make this kind of content with Kirtana. Like, why am I not doing
Hmm.
it?
Hmm.
Oh,
Because we also recognize over and over again that there are no role models for younger people who are coming
yeah.
out. And i
True.
i see that as a space that probably I personally feel like I need to be present there, but I don't feel
Mm.
confident, I don't feel safe at all doing it,
Okay.
because I think I'm also that kind of person who will just keep trying to engage with the haters, and I don't think that would be
Mm.
good for my
Yeah. For your
sanity.
mental
Yeah.
health and yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that has really changed, like, not just being a woman, but being a tattooed woman, being a vocal woman, being feminist woman, and being a queer woman is just,
Fu-
it's scary. Like, I've actually left Facebook, which has been the most sad
Oh,
thing for me because that means I've left ASU, the
yeah.
Facebook group.
Chris, do you sometimes personally feel like this? There's an expectation for queer people to be on Instagram or social media anywhere to just show that there is a community out there, and do you feel that personally as well?
Uh, this is a confusing question, right? Because you want to be out there because you want to be accessible to be found,
Yeah, yeah.
but you also want to be out there safely, like,
Mhm.
you know. So uh, I'm not sure. Like the recent Bumble ad, was it, or something that
Mm.
came out? Let me just take that example. A lot of queer people were offended by it. They were like, "What is it? This is
Hmm.
not like my life."
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
That one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people were like, "Oh, I loved it," and like it was amazing or whatever. So it's also like how social media is portraying us, and we are like, "That's not my life, boss."
Hmm.
So there's like two sides of it, I guess. It's like there is a pressure to be present,
Mm.
uh, because you don't want to be, also there's this whole part of you don't want to be misrepresented,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
but also the pressure to be present for other people, and pressure from your own peers also to be more vocal. Why don't you talk about it more? Like, why don't you talk about your straight life more? Oh
Yes.
yeah, you do actually. So that is normal, but if I do it, it's not normal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's it's not that easy when a straight person says, why don't you talk about it more? It's like, yeah, but you will not be killed for talking about it. I might, like, I might be
Yeah.
followed and beat up, or like, I don't know what could happen. Like, anything could happen. So it's
Absolutely.
not that easy for me to just talk about it and be like,
Yeah.
listen to
Yeah.
my story or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. You can't just put a story out there and be like, this was my day, and not constantly be thinking who saw it, who took a note
Who's
of
seeing
it,
it? Yeah.
who's going to remember me, you know.
Yeah,
So,
True.
exactly.
yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much pressure, no?
It is. It is. And
I
it's,
think it's,
this is
I
something we
think
were
just even just
discussing.
as being women, it's like so hectic half the
It
time.
is. It is. And I think this is something we were discussing earlier as well, right? When you want to post a picture on Instagram, you have to think about it so many times from just being a woman from that
Yeah.
perspective first,
Mm.
Yeah,
right?
and imagine,
But,
like, I cannot even imagine what trans people and non-binary people have to go through, you know, like, it's another
Yeah.
ball game altogether,
yeah.
I feel.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. Because sometimes, I mean, you want to also share your life, right? And then,
Yeah, yes. There are days where I'm just like, Kitna looks so beautiful now, I should put a
yeah.
picture of her. But then I'm like, then what? Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
also this ethical question in your mind saying, why do you have to do it also? Like, I
Mm.
mean, that's a, again, probably a
Like,
different
yeah.
conversation, but like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so
Yes.
many things
Yeah.
going on in your head. You're like, why do I
Yeah.
do it? Why should I do it? Who needs to see it? Who are my close
Yeah.
friends on Instagram? It's just
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the more you learn about social media, that's the questions just keep increasing in your head. That, why am I
Yeah,
True.
doing this? Yeah.
yeah,
Who am I doing it for?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody
Yeah.
knows
Yeah. Yeah.
anymore.
Nobody knows. We've all
Yeah,
been trained now.
yeah.
Yeah. Just
True.
to wrap up this conversation,
Yes.
um, how do you think we can raise the bar for ourselves and for the people around us, the people, who we interact with, the people who are strangers, acquaintances, everything. How do you think we can just do better and be better?
I think firstly, language, like always say partner, don't say boyfriend. Like you could just start there. Like always say
Mm,
partner, always like, because if I'm going to have to keep it ambiguous all the time, why shouldn't you? You know,
mm,
and it's not wrong also. They are your partner.
Yeah.
Also try not ever saying, you know how we do that he/she. You can just say they, like that works grammatically
mm,
as well.
mm.
So that is something that we do on ASQ. You know, I'm just telling you things that we do on ASQ. Like we try to
Yeah.
use gender neutral pronouns at all points. Like we
Mm,
try very hard, and I think that has worked for me also. Like it has helped me even in work. Like I talk only in gender neutral now. Like you
yeah.
know,
Okay.
unless I know the person, if I'm talking about somebody, like when we're working on a team or something like that, I don't use. That is one. Talk more about queer stuff because you have more listeners than me. On your
Mm,
pages or on your engage more about it, have arguments about it, fight with people.
mm.
That's
But normalize it.
yeah, basically normalize it. Like how, like
Yeah.
that's it. Like that's the
Yeah.
best you can do. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
go to pride, go to every pride everywhere. Like we actually had I mean, I'm telling you this. It was a very funny story. We had a protest a few years back when 377 was. It was um, it was removed and then put back again. So we
Yeah.
went to
Yeah.
town
Yeah.
hall. What is happening? And actually, that day we had a assignment sort. We were told each queer person has to bring five straight people, but
Wow.
I couldn't even bring one because it's
Bye.
not important to them. They were. It was not something they were. It was just not important enough to make time for it. You know. It's fine. There's no judgment. But if you want to do better, then go
Do
more and
this.
read more. Like, change your filters on your social media where you can see more of other kind of stories. You know, and
Yeah.
I don't mean
Hmm.
just queer stories, but like just other kind of stories.
Any other
Anything,
story?
Yeah. Yeah.
any other,
Which are
anything other
different
than
from your
mainstream.
own normal. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That's the best way.
Yeah. I love
Nicely
that.
done.
Yeah. It's a lot of work for us as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chris. This was an eye opener, if nothing else, and we really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you guys for doing this. I think it's really great to hear different kinds of stories. Amazing.
Thank
Thank you,
you. Thank you so
Chris.
much for your story.
Hey there! Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Raise the Brow. If you liked what you heard, please share it with your friends. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube for all future episodes.